Thank you very much for having me here. First of all, University of Michigan, Joyjeet sir, and all of you, all the students of the University of the department who have worked here. I am standing and speaking because I have so much energy in me right now. I thought that if there's going to be lots of fidgeting, and then I have two very, very eminent speakers. I would have two very, very eminent speakers on my right and my left, and I did not want to disturb them. Sorry. So yes, I will start with something which is, first of all, not mine. I'll translate it for those of you who do not understand Hindi, because, you know, whenever, first of all, my mom has told me to speak slowly. And I don't think that is going to be possible, Ma, because, you know, lot of energy. Anyway, so what I'm saying is that every time I'm asked to give a speech, or I'm invited for a talk, or I have to, you know, appear for an interview, again, like, I am saying as if I have been doing this for a very long time. It's really not. I have just started doing this for the past 6 months. So every time I'm asked to do that in the past 6 months, I have always tried to come up with something profound, something very serious, something very intellectual, something quote-worthy, something that you can take back and, oh, wow, what a speech. Like, you know what she said, you know, this is what she said. And then you can talk amongst each other, send it messages, make memes out of it. But I have never been able to do something like that. So I'll start with one of my very favorite poets, recent favorite poets, words. His name is Puneet Sharma, and he says, "Mere desh se mera seedha rishta hai. Tum kaun ho be? Kyun batao tumko kitna gehra hai? Tum kaun ho be?" Translated, I have a direct relationship with my country. Who the fork are you, to be parliamentary? Why should I tell you how intense my relationship with my country is? Who the fork are you? This is where my compulsion to do whatever I do comes from. Like Saurav sir, I will also be anecdotal in nature, because Joyjeet told me that, you know, it's better if we are personal in our conversations, in our addresses. So I'll try to be personal. I'll try to talk about the satire that I write, the scripts that I write, and the characters that I have, from the point of view of my own experiences as an Indian in our country. So this is the relationship. The relationship I have with my country is the crux of the work which I do. My father is a writer, and like I said, I have always wanted to say something profound, because there's one time when he was giving an interview and he said something so profound that it has actually, I think it has actually laid the foundation of what I feel towards my country, my relationship with my country, or my conceptualization of country and motherland is. So my dad told in an interview once that he thinks, because he writes short stories, and his short stories are lot of the time they're based in his village, in his motherland, where he grew up. So he talks about how he feels like a tortoise, which is carrying their village or carrying its home around with them. So that was my first conceptualization of country, of motherland, of home. So I think of my nation as a home, and it's because something is wrong with my home that I am compelled to do what I do. I started my whole journey, my satirical journey, or my video journey, my content creation journey 3 years ago now, actually, when the pandemic hit. When the pandemic hit, it was almost like there were veils in front of my eyes all this while, and those veils were gradually lifted or actually ripped apart. Because you have, while you're living your life, you have all this understanding. If you are educated, if you are woke, if you understand social justice and all those things, you have an understanding, you see it from a distance, especially if you are privileged. If you have any kind of privilege, caste privilege, class privilege, economic privilege, gender privilege, any kind of privilege, you see these things from a distance. And I think that distance for me was very pronounced, because I understood what social justice is, why it is necessary, but I had never done anything on my own part, anything concrete to, you know, contribute towards shortening the gap or lessening the gap between the haves and the have-nots. So when the pandemic hit, I was very comfortably sitting in my house. I had a salary coming in. I had food. I had a car. I had lots of time to make dalgona coffee and so on and so forth. But I realized, and then, you know, lots of time for TV as well. So you're watching TV, you see this hordes of people traveling or moving from one part to another. Because the places which they literally built, the places which they literally raised with their hands, they abandoned them. These places said, we do not have any space for you. We do not have resources for you. Go back home. And that is something, the movement, I have goosebumps right now because every time it's a very emotional, it was a very emotional experience for me because the movement of this entire jatha or this group of people from one place to another, when that started happening, it was a very rude awakening. Like I said, it was like ripping apart of the veil in front of me, and I could see the injustice. I could see the difference in their privilege and mine. And that is what compelled me to start my the first satirical series which I have 3. The first one was a neighborhood teacher. And it's because I am a teacher. My mother is a teacher. My mother has taught me everything that I know. She's the one, in fact, my moniker, Dr. Medusa. I love Dr. Medusa, or I love Medusa, because it's, in fact, I think the first story I remember being told, first bedtime story I remember being told. Imagine my mom telling me Medusa when I'm trying to sleep, and I'm, yes, she has snakes for her hair. Wow. And at this one time, my mom was extremely sleepy and she was telling us a story and bedtime story, and the bedtime story was Macbeth. And while telling Macbeth, it shifted to Medusa. For some reason, she was talking about Lady Macbeth as if she was Medusa. And it was a wonderful, beautiful story which emerged out of a sleepy mother. And it's something that I've always wanted that story to be a reality. But anyway, so she is the one, she's a teacher. So I absolutely honor and love the profession that I am in. And I thought, this is something I know, this is something I know how to do. And if I am to contribute, or if I am to change anything in any way, this is something that I will, this is how I will be able to do it, or this is how I know how to do it. And again, this might sound, or I would like to put a very honorable view to what I'm doing, but in reality, it comes from an extremely personal, extremely private, and extremely selfish place. What I do, what the satire I make, the scripts I write, it comes from an extremely selfish place, because I know that if I don't do it, it will cause a mental breakdown. I will have a psychological breakdown. I will end up depressed. I will end up at a therapist, or because there is so much guilt, and there is so much survivor's guilt. There is privileged guilt. There's so much of this desire in me to do something, and not being able to do it, not being physically able to do it, because like Meena is there. Meena is physically present on the field. She's doing for her community. Saurav sir is there. He is physically present in the field, reporting from places which are difficult, reporting from places which are dangerous. Both of these people, and everybody on field. So that difference, that understanding that I'm not on the field and I'm very comfortable, that guilt, all of these things combined together. So my satire comes from a personal, private, and selfish place. But yet I want to share it with the world. I think that there is nothing, not a lot very honorable about it, because I'm doing it for myself. I want to stay sane. I want to keep a grip on what is happening around me, and have this idea that Nene, I have also contributed in the creation of an alternative discourse in the presence of a narrative that is so strong, that is so well-funded and so technical in creating and nurturing fear and hatred. So at least it's for my sake, but I am very happy and I'm very honored that some of you, all of you, those of you who have invited me here, those of you who listen to me, who are listening to me, who follow me on the social media platforms, I'm very honored that you think that it's a good thing that I'm doing, and you are with me in this journey, and you are supporting me in this journey. I'm very thankful for that. So my first series was The Neighborhood Teacher, and I use language to talk satire. I use language to comment on political events, political issues, policies, etc. One of my first videos which I made was on coordinating conjunctions. I talked about how coordinating conjunctions are used. And there is an acronym which we use to teach coordinating conjunctions, which is fanboys. So fan, F for, A for An, N for nor, B for but, O for or, Y for yet, and S for so. So fanboys. So I talked about in that particular video, I talked about how if you ever forget what are your coordinating conjunctions, just switch on any news channel and look at one of the news anchors who is there, either in Times Now or Aaj Tak or any other news channel. Just look at how they are talking about our very honorable Prime Minister. And you will figure out you will remember, this is a fanboy. So, okay, fanboys is the acronym which I need to remember, coordinating conjunctions. So that was picked up and that was very popular, and I thought that, okay, this is maybe something which I can, and I had fun. That, that momentary pleasure that it gives you, that your work is being recognized, people like it, people are liking and commenting and sharing. That's like a hit, So that was also there. I'll not lie that I don't like when that happens, when a video does well. I do, but that's not the reason I started, and that's not the reason I continued, and that's not the reason I will continue. And then a series which I started was Dukh Darshan. Dukh Darshan is a deadpan delivery of news events which have happened during the week. And I do that in a satirical sense. I use punchlines, and I try to make it, in fact, you know what? Yeah, it's like somebody said yesterday, you don't even have to try to write satire. It just writes itself. You just need to look at your politicians. You need to look at the media, and the satire writes itself. Sometimes you just have to repeat things which politicians have said, and it becomes comedy. So Dukh Darshan is something which I do on a weekly level, and it's I think, as a linguist, because that's my primary occupation. As a linguist, as somebody who looks at languages, I look at languages all the time. The language of social media, the language we speak with each other, the language we speak with different classes of people, and when all of this was happening in the past 2-3 years, not just the past 2-3 years, in the past decade, actually, almost a decade now. The way the language of the media has changed, it's so much that instead of their job of delivering information, they are now creating information and creating, first of all, they were creating opinion, and now they're creating information, right? Disinformation and misinformation, and the difference between those two things. So when I looked at the media, when I looked at language during this, because when the first series, the Neighborhood Teacher series, started becoming popular, I decided, okay, now I need to make it more, there needs to be more punch in the satire, because just having just that one persona was not fitting in with the ideas that had started to come into my head, that had actually started to burst into my head. So I looked at the language and I saw the media and the way they are using language to create opinion, to create information, to peddle disinformation. I realized that it is very important that to have an alternate persona, to show how they are doing it, what exactly is the mechanism behind it, by critiquing it in the form of the old Doordarshan, or the old news form of the old way of delivery of news and information in India. So that was why I started the Dukh Darshan, and I tried to use language to subvert the very language the other media, the Godi media, mainstream media, let's say, the mainstream media was trying to use. I used the format to question and critique. Yeah, exactly. Next, the final part of my talk and the final series which I have is the NTPC helpline. The NTPC helpline is National Troll Precision Center. So it's a helpline which trains trolls on how to troll. So because, while I was doing this, while both the series were becoming popular, obviously the trolls arrived. And once the trolls arrived, they have the exact same things on loop. They'd say the exact same things. If you are a woman, they'll character assassinate you. All of the stuff that they will say will be misogynistic. If you are not conventionally beautiful, they'll comment on your face, they'll comment on your features, they'll be racist, they will be casteist, and all sorts of things. So from my surname, you can't really figure out what my caste is. So of course, they decided to be racist because I have Mongoloid features. So it was so similar. It was like, no, somebody from Bulandshahr is commenting, or somebody from Gujarat is commenting as a troll. they had the same lines. Chinky, they had the same lines, a derogatory comment for Muslim community, the same things. So I thought, I'm pretty sure that these guys, what they do is they get a script from somewhere, and that's what they do. They just copy paste stuff, and then they get their payment as members of the troll army. So I thought, okay, let's pretend that I am the one who is giving them the script, and they are the ones who are reading it, and they're the ones who are just copying and pasting it. So that became extremely popular because people started resonating with the fact that it's quite possible that this is how it happens. And I have been told a number of times that probably this is exactly how it happens. So all my work, all my videos, the series which I have created, all of them have come from very personal experiences, like I said. And today I'm sharing that with you. And I hope that the personal and private and selfish act, my selfish act, and I thank you for honoring that selfish act. And I hope that I can continue to be this selfish and keep creating and of course, finally, I would like to thank our very honorable Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi, for always inspiring me, always giving me content, and always helping me out. Thank you very much.